Dakota and Minnesota families are learning more this evening about an in-state tuition reciprocity agreement that is set to end with this semester and what that could mean for college students going forward. Parker Brown in studio this evening with our 6 o'clock top story. Hello there, Parker.
Good evening, Brian. The end of that agreement was announced in December, but schools were more widely made aware after receiving a letter from the South Dakota Board of Regents this week. Many students and parents have been left stressed out about the uncertainty of their tuition cost.
If we were not to be under that and we ended up having to pay the out-of-state tuition that runs about $56,000, that's a huge impact on our family, and we would have to reconsider what school we go to.
Angela Bjorkman's daughter is a current senior at Sioux Falls Roosevelt who is set to go to the University of Minnesota this fall. Many students like her daughter have been in contact with their future schools about what will happen to their tuition going forward. Depending on the answer, they may have to switch last minute.
It's unfortunate because the schools of our choice, we might be having to settle with a school she didn't necessarily even apply to.
South Dakota made the decision to end the agreement as part of many of their initiatives to make their state schools more attractive and affordable to students in the region. The South Dakota Board of Regents says that the South Dakota schools will still honor in-state tuition for Minnesotans. In a statement to Dakota News Now, they said in part, "By ending the reciprocity agreement, we were able to lower the rate for new Minnesota students, increasing South Dakota's competitive advantage. How Minnesota chooses to respond and the rates it sets for South Dakota students is not something the South Dakota Board of Regents controls." Minnesota public universities are responding on a school-by-school basis, and some have chosen to honor reciprocity. In the University of Minnesota's Board of Regents meeting today, the interim president, Jeff Ettinger, addressed the concerns head-on, saying that current South Dakota students will continue under in-state tuition.
Because this news comes so late in the admissions cycle going forward, we are planning to allow South Dakota undergrads who enter in the fall of 2024 to pay the reciprocity rate as well.
Now, thankfully for Bjorkman's daughter, she has been notified that she will receive that in-state tuition price, but there are some other schools that are still working on their response. If you have a student accepted into a Minnesota state school, it's best to reach out to them to find out their current plan. Brian?
Parker Brown tonight here at 6. Parker, thanks.